Memorial Day is meant to honor the fallen soldiers of the U.S. military. For Donald Trump this morning, it was an excuse to go after his self-proclaimed enemies. He says, quote, "Happy Memorial Day to all, including the human scum that is working so hard to destroy our once great country." He goes on to attack two judges overseeing his trials and the woman who says he sexually assaulted her. My panel is back with me now. Look, I get it. The happy whatever to haters and losers is kind of his shtick, but come on, man. Should people care? That sucks.
I mean,
to be candid.
I think it follows a pattern, and he hasn't really received a lot of consequences for this kind of talk in the past, and that is something that's targeted just at those who like Donald Trump. We're not trying to win any hearts and minds with that particular, what do they call them, truth?
But what we were just talking about, which was whether or not he's going to be able to win over those independents, whether or not he's going to be able to win over some moderate Republicans that he lost in 2020 in states like Arizona that went to Biden, voters I spoke to there who had been lifelong Republicans. Is he going to be able to win them over if he's constantly, on a day that is supposed to remember veterans, attack other, law enforcement? And that's something that the Biden campaign is going to be using examples of. In the past, when he's attacked veterans, in the past, when he said that he only likes soldiers that win, and they're going to use that to appeal to those independent Nikki Haley type voters.
I have wondered, and I don't know the answer to this, but if just being on Truth Social has actually somewhat helped Donald Trump, because not everyone is being exposed to this constant deluge of negativity. I mean, one of the things, I met someone in Iowa during the caucuses who told me that they believed the election was stolen, and I was like, hear me out. What if the election wasn't stolen, but that everybody, including you, who was a Trump supporter, were just really exhausted by the constant drinking from a fire hose that people felt, so people didn't actually show up to vote, including you, who told me that you didn't show up to vote. He was like, yeah, well, we were all really tired. And I wonder if being on Truth Social in this kind of silo where it's not public, where it's only public if someone else posts it, not having this constant inundation has actually somehow helped Donald Trump, because people don't feel so exhausted by seeing it all the time.
I think it's an underappreciated dynamic. And one, to your point, the Biden campaign, I vividly remember talking to somebody in the White House early on in the first term, where they were like, man, we kind of wish Trump was back on Twitter because it was easier to show these things. Moving on to the kind of things that really matter with Trump right now, not the inability to separate two posts. Dude, just make a Memorial Day post and then go ahead on your rant. He was booed at the Libertarian Convention. I think we have some of the, let's play some of the sound.
We want libertarian votes because you stand for what we stand for. If we unite, we are unstoppable. I will be a true friend to libertarians in the White House. The Libertarian Party should nominate Trump for President of the United States. Whoa.
Now, because we're talking about social media, we should be very clear. Trump did post on Truth Social that while he didn't file the paperwork to become the Libertarian candidate, he absolutely would have gotten it if he wanted it, which didn't seem true based on the crowd response. What did you make of that? Does it matter?
I mean, it does, especially when he's going out trying to talk to a particular group of people, libertarians, when he's gone to even speak at different events like you had a few months ago when he tried to speak to black voters and saying, hey, this is why you should vote for me. I think this is just a very messaging of where he has to tailor it more. And there is that question of what can you do for me? What is that vote if I cast it for you? What am I going to get returned? And you see that reception, not as warm as he anticipated. If you've gone to a Trump rally where he almost feeds off of the cheering, the almost that really boasts his confidence, that really sets him apart, where he kind of goes into his talking points. So you see that this is not the reception that he's used to getting when he's out on the campaign trail at his rallies, where he's surrounded by supporters.
I think his appearance there had everything to do with someone else's appearance there, which is RFK Jr., who they have increasingly gone after in the Trump campaign, and who they see, this is someone that could cut into Trump's margins, because the people, if you're a Trump supporter and you're mad about the lockdowns, you're mad about what happened during COVID, and you like the vaccines, and you like the anti-vaccine message that you're hearing from the Kennedy campaign, you're Donald Trump's campaign, you got to be a little bit worried about that, which is why he's calling him, a leftist lunatic, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
To that, I think it's clearly one element of it. But throughout, as they've kind of wandered up to this, I think they knew what was going to happen when Trump went there. And by they, I mean the kind of La Savita, Susie Wiles, brain meld They also know numbers. And in 2016, Gary Johnson, who's a Libertarian candidate, took 3% of the vote in a state that I think Hillary Clinton won by less than 3%. Those are numbers. Those are votes that matter. Is that driving this?
I think that, again, they didn't know what they were walking into. And at the end of it, his speech was 30 minutes. I mean, have you ever seen Donald Trump speak for 30 minutes? Usually it's a flat 90 and then over that if he's having a good time. So 30 minutes, in and out, at one point he was heckling them. The concern with RFK is exactly what you're mentioning. Yes, they've seen polling, they've seen all the same polling everyone else has, that this might siphon votes away from Biden. But when I talk to his senior advisors, there's a real belief that they have absolutely no idea, that they don't know where these votes are going to come from, that they don't know that this isn't going to hurt Donald Trump. And so getting him in front of people, as many people as he can, which are in this world, that could help him, even if it's just a little bit, as they try to navigate this kind of RFK
And even
situation.
to Kristen's point on this, what the Trump, and I've talked to a lot of Biden campaign advisors on this topic, is that they're not just getting after groups that historically have gone out and casted a vote. They're trying to target voters who have, back in the day, they didn't vote, that in the last 2020 election cycle, that they didn't go and cast their ballot. They're trying to target those voters and try to see how can they get them to mobilize and go out to the ballot time this time around. And that, when we're talking about the slim margin that they think that it's going to be between Trump and Biden, they're really trying to go after those voters, the ones that haven't historically voted in the past, but they're really trying to go out.
And they're not all
and
in the
go again.
middle. It's people that can fall on either side, but haven't been identified, because that's exactly what the Trump people are doing. They're looking for, on the Trump side, looking for low propensity voters who have historically in the past voted Democrat, but they believe now are more right-leaning. They don't know that they'll show up, but they're trying to get out there into these communities to try to drive them out to vote, because if you look at this, the way that the table is set right now, if the election's going to be determined, it's just going to be determined by these people in the middle. So now you're seeing them go outside to these outside areas to try to bring in new voters.
Yeah, it's a fascinating shadow boxing match going on with low propensity voters, but you need an operation too to actually deliver a chase program. And that's where I'm not totally sure where the Trump campaign is.